celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of We Came From Celluloid. I'm Nicky P, here as always with the eponymous Mr. Brian Pritchard. We are shared today on screen with Dennis. We are going to be on tour and playing Dennis's town, and very excited to talk to him a little bit about that. So, Brian, why don't you get us started? You're the guy that likes to do the questions.
Yeah, no, Dennis, I appreciate you for starters being the person to step up, right? I've been trying to with this. This is the first time we've gone on tour, and so that process has involved trying to plug into the local music scene, right? Who are the bands? Who are the venues? Who can we make friends with? And I'd made a few different rounds of posts before I really had anybody engage, and I appreciate that you number one raised your hand and you were up for interacting with a stranger at all, you know what I mean, and collaborating on something. And so your band is PsyDefects, and what instrument do you play inside the group, Dennis?
Yeah, I play bass and I do a lot of backing vocals, and there's some songs I actually do lead vocals on. So,
hey, are you guys doing mostly originals, covers, a mix of both?
To be honest with you, right now we're doing a mix of both. We did just release our first album in October called Mr. Nothing, and it's a lot of collaborative work, because we had an initial group of just three of us, and then we had a fourth join us kind of midway through, and then we just wanted our album to be all of us and not just some of us.
Got it. So you had another player that, you wanted to give them a chance to kind of get their fingerprints on some of the stuff you'd already been working on. Slowed it down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, he's one of my best friends from high school, and he was actually my roommate for the 1 year I went to college, and then we actually kind of re-met at a friend's funeral and just said, why aren't we playing together? And so it's really good to make music with really good friends,
So it sounds like you'd been playing separately, though, that you at least had this trio that had formed. Overall, how is music and playing in bands fit into your overall life? How far back does it go with you?
I was going to say, well, to be honest with you, I wasted a lot of years drinking and just kind of playing the guitar and just look what I can do, and instead of actually getting better and better. And then I was just kind of, I tried bands with some buddies, but we just never got anything going. And then I just had a mutual friend introduce me to these other guys that say, hey, they need somebody. And because I've always wanted to be a rhythm guitarist. But the problem is around here, everybody needs a bassist. And I just had a bass and a bass amp at home too, So I was like, well, I can come play bass. And then, so it ignited me with this band. They were called Hayes Gray at the time, which is where I met my current lead guitarist. He's still with me after all this time. And, that was, I think, mid-2000s. It was my first, 2005, 2006, something like that. That's when we first got together. And, that was going good for a while. And then then there were some internal issues, and I just ended up leaving that band, and I ended up taking, some people with me, formed a new band called Reckoned. And we had a lot of fun with that, just kind of learning covers and just getting better and just meeting more musicians. And of course, that never really got very far before that blew up too. And then I was just kind of off for about 6 years. And then my wife's like, well, hey, I work with this drummer dude who's looking for a band, and are you looking for somebody to jam with? Because he's just drumming by himself. So I was like, okay, so called him up, and I was like, well, hey, I know this lead guitarist who's not doing anything. So I called him up too and just said, well, let's get together. And we formed a trio, and, it was going great, but apparently I was the only one close enough to sing. So I had to do bass and sing. And then, then it was kind of nice, a little further down the road, we ended up trying a singer who worked out for us for about a year and a half, which was kind of nice. It helped me get better at the bass and focus just on that. But then he ended up leaving, so then I had to go back to singing and doing both. And and as you guys know, that's a lot for somebody to do. So.
Well, so the lead guitar relationship that you mentioned, back in 2005, like, was that partnership something that has carried through those next couple of bands? Like, that even as some of them were falling apart, were the two of you part of all of those units together, or did your paths kind of go apart and then come back together?
No, it was just kind of always us, because my lead guitarist Terry is a phenomenal player. He could play anything. He just has to hear it and he could play it. And the guy's like a video log in his mind. Like, I'm trying to think, For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. I just started playing the bass part to that, and he just breaks into the lead, like playing it like he's been playing it for 20 years, like every day. But yeah, he just broke right into it. It's like, how can you do that? And, it's not like he's listened to the song in the last 5 years, just he could play it just from memory like that. So he's just phenomenal.
Well, and on the songwriting side, on the original side, I guess I'm curious who do you feel like, what's that process like for you guys? Like, are you writing in the room? Is somebody coming in with ideas? Like, especially as the singer, I assume you've got to be involved in that process, so tell me about the original.
Oh, absolutely. To be honest with you, most of that, like in the beginning part, was me. Like, we had about 35, 40 originals, and me, I'm a lyricist. I love lyrics. The words have to speak to me, have to speak to a person, have to speak to an emotion. And to be honest with you, I kind of always start with my lyrics first. And then, so like, even like right now, I probably got about 20 songs worth of words written that don't have any music. But then we'd be sitting at practice, and then just, oh, hey, that riff sounds cool, keep playing that. I'd pull out some words, and, oh, hey, these fit, let's do this. And then we could change it up for a chorus like this. So I always started with lyrics first, and then I'd hear the music, and then we'd kind of work on it together, because I'm not the strongest musician, so I always like to hear input from them, just kind of what we should do and what kind of changes to add. But I was going to say, that's kind of been most of the process, especially just being a 3-piece trio where we wanted to grow our library, but we weren't doing anything, so we just kind of had to make it up on the fly. So it was kind of like, a lot of kind of punk songs, kind of punk bangers, kind of like that.
And then who as far as the fourth guy, you had a drummer, a guitar player, and your bass and vocals. What did the fourth member bring to the table?
He brings rhythm and lead guitar himself, so it's kind of really nice listening to them trade off. And he's also a better singer than I am.
Did you hand off the reins, or are you guys collaborating on vocals?
Well, usually, we kind of started off like 50-50, and then I was like, well, I don't need to be singing that much, because, we're not doing many of the original songs that I wrote before him. Because like I said, I want it to be a collaborative effort. I don't want him just to be playing a song that we wrote and vice versa, because he also has, I believe it's 3 albums out on Spotify himself with Christian Rock, the rhythm guitarist, other vocalist, if you will.
Got it. So he's a songwriter separately, and so certainly has some opinions at any given time that can help shape and craft the direction of a new piece. That's really.
And the funny thing is too, is he kind of works the opposite way. He goes music first and then the lyrics. So it's kind of fun, so like when we write songs together, they just kind of really go. He's just like, oh, play this riff. Oh, I got these words. Okay, here we go. Like 2 songs on the album.
Especially with a notebook of ideas, I was saying, like, you know what I mean? I could see how somebody who's got fresh musical ideas, you've got that wonderful opportunity of almost like flipping through and experimenting a little bit and seeing what fits, you know?
What really fits, yeah, yeah. And like I say, he's got 30, 40, 50 guitar riffs that he doesn't know what to do with yet. So, it's kind of really coming together, and it's really fun. Like I said, creating is the best part of music, I think, because everybody wants to play their own music. They don't really want to play everybody else's music, So
You need a good horror like me.
Oh, well, yeah, you do both, right? Like that Nick's actually, one of the people I know that has done it more professionally, even, right? Like, to the extent that I've been playing out and playing gigs, I've only done, original music gigs. Nick absolutely has done like corporate gigs, 3-hour, like Nick's more of the human jukebox type. Like, you could do a wedding show tonight, like if somebody wanted you to, yeah.
I've done plenty of them.
Well, I was going to say, that's how you make money doing it, right?
Well, and I have a buddy of mine who I remember going to see. There was a night where there was a Metallica and Megadeth cover bands playing at the local House of Blues, right? And so it was like, whatever cheap $20 tickets or something to hear all that music live that we love. And I went and the place was packed, right? And I remember sort of being struck by going like, yeah, I mean, this is music I care about and enjoy. And like, if I really wanted to, if the most important thing was playing to a big room like this, like, it looks like there's a path to do that. You know what I'm saying? There's a path to do that. And I could play to big crowds and I could make money. But somehow I'm still more excited about playing for like 2 or 3 strangers and just seeing if I can win them over. That's my big mission.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that's fun, but that's, to me, that's where I think the covers come in, to get the crowd to participate, get their ears open more. That's kind of what I'm trying to teach the guys by doing a mix of both. Because then you can get them to say, hey, at least these guys aren't so bad, or at least they have a basis of comparison for where we are, if we have any talent, if we're any good, other than just a cold, do you like us or do you not like us? Are you going to get up and walk out, or are you going to stay and have another beer?
The most train wrecky of a situation I've ever been in is when I was in a 70s progressive cover band. So we did a lot of Steely Dan, Genesis, Rush, like basically all like the hardest classic rock shit to cover. And I was always like, we do stuff like Sweet and, some of the more mainstream rock, but like I couldn't get through the drummer's head. It's like, dude, we could play maybe 1 or 2 of the more danceable songs for the beginning of the night when the women are still there, and people would drink more, stick around longer. We'd be able to make like an actual living out of this. Like, and we'd still have plenty of time in that second hour and a half set to play all of the Genesis deep cuts that you want to do. Just, I'm talking, can you give me 20 minutes of a 3-hour gig to play a few songs that I know the crowd's going to go apeshit for?
To win people over a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a little different with the original band, because we're working with 30 minutes and that's all we get. But it's like, come on, dude. In a 3-hour set, you can't take 20 minutes to appease the women a little bit. Okay.
That's like, my lead guitarist. He won't do like any song that's actually made money, because like me, I tell you what, you go play Creep anywhere, and you'll have the whole crowd up and singing along with you. But he won't do it. He says even they hate that song. Well, I'm sorry it made them millions of dollars, but people like hearing it. And then
Nick, you've brought up the idea that like to play something that it's not even the crowd pleasing side is there, but it's also like it's telling them that
they don't know how to frame you as a band.
Yeah, that you can like, it gives them a I don't know, like something to relate with you as like, oh, we all love the same songs. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're cool together. We like the same stuff.
And another thing to your point, Nick, is I remember reading this comic. I think it was in a musician's magazine. I can't remember which one, but it showed a line of people. With two choices. You could have, a complicated, complex 10-minute, like In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida kind of song. And then, there's like one guitarist standing in that line. And then the other line was like just a 3-chord bangers. And that's where your whole audience is standing in that line, So it's kind of funny, only music, once you learn that musicians are the only ones who appreciate the musician part, other than, oh, hey, I love this jam, like one of my big things, I'm not a big Kiss fan, but they make money wherever they go with 3-chord bangers, So,
They had one song and they had one song well. AC/DC, the same thing, a band that made a career out of one song.
Yeah. Well, to me, I heard the Scorpions before I heard AC/DC, so I always thought AC/DC was just a crappy Scorpions and just never been a fan of them, so, which I catch a lot of flack for. So.
I've listened to a lot of AC/DC. I don't think they've ever come anywhere near Wind of Change, so I think we're okay. That's a level of musicianship they never sought for.
Even Rock You Like a Hurricane. I dare put any AC/DC song against Rock You Like a Hurricane. I know we've all heard it a million times, but it still rocks,
Oh yeah. No, it works every time for sure. So you put out a full length, you said, in October. Like how many tracks? This is like 8, 10, 12? What ended up on there?
I think it's 13. If I remember right, 12 or 13. So.
Now I remember, one of the when I was finishing up one of the first album I ever like went into the studio and did. By the time we were wrapping it up, it was like I was already so much on to the next thing, right? Like, are you guys already knee deep in writing the next batch of songs and stuff like that?
Well, to be honest with you, kind of not really, because, we've all already got a lot of songs, there's still, like only, half of my songs, are on there. So I only got like 5 or 6, so I still got 30 some written, ready to go. That some I even think are better, but like.
Gotcha. So writing new ones is less a concern than trying to find space for a catalog that you've built up that you're already kind of proud of and want to see it.
Yeah. And the good thing is, like, now we're kind of just picking from the catalog and we're playing those songs more and more together and getting tighter, and it is becoming more of a group thing as opposed to, hey, it's my song and that sort of thing and fight.
One of the things that I mean, to me, it's like I immediately picked up on this is you guys have a lot of different influences, I'm going to imagine, from listening to your first record, because I mean, there's some stuff on there where I'm getting like an old school Grateful Dead vibe, and then the next thing I'm feeling like some Alice Cooper kind of thing, just clearly reaching into all of the bags for some tricks.
Yeah, like I said, for me, it's lyrics. So, I love songwriters. Like, to be honest with you, my favorite is Leonard Cohen. Not many people know him, but, it's just,
everybody knows.
Ever since I heard him, I've just, yeah, everybody knows. Exactly. That's the song that got me on there from that Christian Slater movie. Was it Pump Up the Volume?
It's sitting back in the DVD case right now.
One of my favorites, and he started his song off to that, and it kind of is funny because it started a 1.5-year journey for me to find that song because it's not on the soundtrack, and back in those days you recorded things on VHS, but who ever recorded the credits? So I never even knew who sang that song. So it took me a 1.5 years to hunt down who did it, but just.
So both Brian and I are huge cinephiles, so it's always great when something comes back to a movie. That particular movie, I had a hell of a time trying to explain to my daughter who's 12 and lives in the modern world. Like, that movie makes almost no sense in today's world.
No, yeah. Then today's people wouldn't get it, and yeah, using the neighbor's phone line for his broadcast, and yeah, they wouldn't know anything about a hard phone line.
Dude, I'll tell you a Christian Slater story that a story that makes me chuckle is, my son, he's almost 22 now, and I've grown up showing him movies, and he, took on that love of cinema, and it's been fun. He's been with his girlfriend now, his fiance, for like 4 years, and so I see him taking her on that same journey, and sometimes like they've spent enough time here at the house that I'll end up watching stuff with her as well, right? And so the one day she ended up watching with me a kind of a deep cuts Christian Slater movie called Kuffs. Kuffs, Kuffs, right? Him and a young Mila Jovovich. And so Ben calls me, my son calls me like a few months later. He's watching Curb Your Enthusiasm on HBO and Christian Slater's in it. And his fiance is like, hey, isn't that Kuffs? Isn't that George Kuffs from Kuffs? And like, just the idea of like a 20-year-old girl in 2026 seeing Christian Slater on screen and going, oh, that's the guy from Kuffs. It made me so proud. It's like I've done something in life.
That's good. To be honest with you, you're probably one of the few people I've ever heard of that's actually seen that movie, because that's one of my favorites. And yeah, I saw Mila Jovovich, saw she was going to go far, and why didn't I try that last night with Ed? That's great. I love that movie. And sorry, yeah, I've watched a lot of movies in my life, so I'd be right there with you guys.
I love it, man. Like, that was one of the initial impulses with this band, was trying to combine the love of cinema and music, right? There's been moments in my life where something as simple as bonus features, the special features on a DVD, have inspired me to go make music. An example that comes to mind is a documentary for the 70s, Dawn of the Dead, right? And I remember watching a documentary about Tom Savini, and he's a makeup guy, stuntman, actor, and like just did so much cool stuff for that movie. And watching him in the bonus features being an artist and creating something, and just watching people working in that artistic space, it made me just like want to pause that and go make something. You know what I mean? That like, it does feel inspirational. And what we've found that we have fun playing with is just trying to take like movie idea, like even to take something like Pump Up the Volume or Kuffs, and go, how could we write a song about this? What would be the story inside this movie, or that we want to tell? What's some weird detail, maybe like we have a song about Jurassic Park that we wrote, and what it's about really is how Sam Neill's character, Dr. Alan Grant, that main character, is struggling to decide whether or not he wants to like settle down and have kids with Laura Dern. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the plot line of that movie, right? So we have this song called Jurassic Park, and it could be about anything, right? But that is what it's about, right? Is just going like, it's confronting also these themes around what it is to like, to be a man, to be an adult, to like, you know what I'm saying? Like all of this stuff. And so anyway, just that notion of trying to find inspiration, and hopefully, again, as a lyricist and a writer, you can have some appreciation for just trying to say, where can I grab inspiration from the world around me? Where do you find inspiration?
Well, one of the things I always find is just art inspires art, like all kinds of art. Even if it's not your kind, just seeing somebody with that, feeling of pride in it, and, stuff like that is just always something to inspire you. Like, well, I'm going to make something of my own that I can be that proud of. And, and like for me musically,
I think you said the important part there is that you have to have that personal lens and that life to kind of push that art through. It has to have that thing. Because if it were just about like art for art's sake and having watched art, Hollywood would probably be in a better state than it is now. Because all Hollywood is now is people that have been watching nothing but art, haven't lived any lives, and they're kind of rehashing things that other people have done without that lens of that personal place is what it feels so much like. And it's been an ongoing conversation for us in the show the past couple weeks, talking about, like the difference between YouTube and like the fantastic movies that are coming out of those creators versus, some of the less inspired pieces that we're getting out of Hollywood right now.
Yeah, the AI generated, oh, here we go, here's the script, like we don't even need writers anymore, like, no, come on. A written word is still better than a computer's word.
And I did want to understand in terms of your book of lyrics, you talked about that idea of writing from a place of emotion. Is it, are you, what sort of things are you reacting to? Is it, how much of it's external? How much of it's internal? As much as you even want to share,
No, well, to me, it can be anything. Like we have a song called "Why Can't I" about a breakup where, and it's just like every breakup. Somebody always moves on faster than the other one, and the main line is, if you can move on, then why can't I? So those things like that, because we've all been there, because, I want to relate. And even if I haven't been there, I want to truly put myself in those shoes, kind of almost like an actor, you want to feel those feelings while you're writing them. And, it's like, oh, that, that's a good one, or that's a good way to say that pain or, stuff like that. So truthfully, I start off with like a list of phrases, common phrases that people say. And then it's like, okay, well, I want to turn that into a song. Let's bring that emotion out. And then that's when I'll start, writing kind of my poetry, because that's kind of what it is. I mean, because it's words without rhythm, but you still want to give it its own kind of rhythm so it fits a rhythm when you do try, So, I mean, that's where it really stems for me, is just a good phrase, and that usually ends up being your song title too, so.
That's interesting. And I've heard, I've encountered versions of that before. My father comes to mind, who's also a songwriter, where like he would really, he'd catch something conversationally out there and be like, that's something I can run with as a concept. Right. I think of, he heard me say one, Forget It Man is one that like he wrote a whole song where it's just like, forget it, man. Like, and just that sentiment, that feeling that like you described, it's like it's universal enough that you can turn it into a thing. Or something, that's sort of poetic. Like I think of, he has one called It Passes By Me. That it's like, once again, it's like that's a feeling that means something to him, especially as he's aged, where he talks about, there's things that come up in the world where everybody's all excited about some new trend. And I just sort of go, it passes by me. You know what I mean? I just watch it go, right? Like, yeah. So that's really cool to hear, as far as the notion of trying to take, something that you can tap into inside the human experience and connect with people in that way.
Do you have any songs that are just kind of sitting in that place where you have an idea and you just don't know how to tackle it?
To be honest with you, yeah. I mean, I was going to say, like, to be honest with you, I lost my brother about 6 years ago, and trying to write a song for him was really hard for me. But I also lost one of my best friends about a month after that. And then I came up with this song called For Those Who Can't. And, it's basically, I'm going to live for those who can't. And it's, it's hard for me to sing it, to play it even. I mean, I showed my mom the lyrics, and it even made her cry, So, but it's just about being able to, love those who have gone and just live your life for them. Because there are people who will do it for you after you're gone, so
keep on keeping on.
Yeah, then life's a big circle for everyone, and you just got to enjoy the ride sometimes instead of thinking about the loss. And Like even we just had a show on Saturday, and there's a song my brother and I wrote together, and it was even hard for me to get that out because we were actually I actually stopped by his site before I went to the show, and because it was only 10 miles away. So I mean, it was kind of a really good cathartic moment. And then, you know, of course, I get up on stage and start singing it, and the sound cuts out. So so that kind of hurt, but you know, it's just real emotional, you know, things like that that are really close that mean a lot to me, just me personally. I mean, you wouldn't hear it by the song because the song is called Olive Juice, and it's all about being put in the friend zone by a girl, you know, but but you know, just that songwriting experience with my brother, and just even my brother hated the music to it because it sounded too happy. He wanted it to sound more sad, and of course, me being the good brother I am, said, "Tough, deal with it," and just kept it the same way.
I would have assumed it was a wonderful song about a delicious beverage known as the martini, but you know.
Well, no, no, it's actually he was at a bar with, you know, of course, a girl he liked, and you know, was going to the bar, and you know, he was going to go get him drinks, and he heard her yell, and he turned around, and it looked like she said, "I love you." And he's like, "Oh, all right, feeling good," and you know, great, like awesome, you know, he's going to go get the drinks, and comes back, and she's like, "Well, where's the olive juice?" Because the lips look the same when you say it. So that's what he thought. So that's why it's called olive juice, even though you don't say it in the song or mention it at all. It's just about, you know, I love you, but you don't love me, you know?
So you mentioned the sound cutting out on you in the middle of the set. So now I'm wondering what kind of rinky-dink operation we're setting up into now. Broader context. So what is the Sioux Falls area like? What is the music like out there? What's the clubs like? What's the scene?
Oh, we got, you know, 200,000 people here, you know, so we're not a slouch of a town by any means. I was going to say, but I can tell you most of the bars, you know, especially the bigger bars who have the stage and constant acts every week, they know they want the covers, you know, just to get people in. But, you know, thankfully there's some smaller venues like this Full Circle Book Co-op that really promotes original arts, you know, and then, you know, that's what we're hoping to play with you guys is just all originals. Cause, you know, this last show we did a lot of covers. The last couple we've done a lot of covers, so you know the guys are kind of chomping at the bit to do an all original show. And no, we were not the ones running the sound. But you know, I should have put myself in.
Well, and Nick, he didn't book the venue. Like Joe actually on our side was the one that had found the venue in this instance, right? And you know, Dennis had this will be your first time playing there as well, I guess is what I'm confirming, right?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I, you know, and I was hoping I missed the chance to go there on Friday, and there's a local band called Neon Horizons playing, and I missed a chance to catch them. I know they're an original act.
No, I'd love the local intel, but you know, one thing, Dennis, you know,
Yeah, it'd be nice if I could have made it, but
we always like to for these interviews make sure that we're giving any listeners a chance to segue into hearing you know what your art is, and so you can send it to me through you know our Facebook Messenger or email or whatever method you want. But I'd love for you to think about what song you want to share, and if you could intro that for us now, even knowing like we'll put it in and add it you know in the editing process. But tell me about a song maybe that you'd be open to sharing with our listeners, and however you want to intro it.
Absolutely. To be honest with you, you know, I'd start off with just kind of because it's kind of a fun track for me because I didn't have any part in writing it. Is our title track, Mr. Nothing. But it was great watching my two guitarists come together, and like my lead guitarist has never written any lyrics for any song whatsoever before, and these two kind of came together and put it all together, and it was just, you know, it's a really fun song, just kind of about being nobody, you know, just on the shadows. People walk by you, don't even look you in the eye, would rather spit on you than say hi to you, you know. it's just kind of about that, just trying to walk around in a world where, hey, everyone just kind of feels like Mr. Nothing at some point in time.
Well, Dennis, we're gonna play Mr. Nothing in a minute, and I just again wanted to thank you and express gratitude and let you know how excited we are to have a chance to share an evening of music with you and your crew, and we actually do have an old, very close friend of ours who does live in Sioux Falls. So we hope to be able to actually contribute some amount of local presence and people that can be exposed to you guys time as well. So, we're going to do our part to make sure that we're not just playing for each other, but even that, man, I'm excited to watch your set and grateful to make new friends. And do you guys have some ambitions to travel yourselves at all? Hit the road?
I was gonna say, well, not yet, but yeah, I mean, we'd always like to be able to play somewhere and get heard more, or be able to afford to go out and go around. To be honest with you, because I mean, three of us all got full-time jobs. In fact, my rhythm guitarist, other singer, works in a lab at a hospital here, and the other's a cook, and I work with metal. So.
Oh, we're going stupid broke doing what we're doing. It's absolutely it's a terrible idea.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say we're all family guys too. Yeah. So, like I said,
we haven't even started yet, and I can already tell you it's objectively was a bad idea. No.
I was gonna say, well, we got to start doing more wedding dances. I think that's where the money's at.
That's right. Yeah, we better start polishing up those cover tunes, as it turns out. Yep.
The chicken dance and everything else, right?
I'm so excited to share our music with a new audience and hit the road with it. It's a benchmark, after 30 years of gigging. I've never been to Sioux Falls, let alone played a show there, man. So I'm excited. I appreciate your help with that, making that happen, and thank you for sharing some time and talking about creativity with us tonight, man. You have a really cool way of looking at it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate you guys posting that post, because I'm always looking to network with more bands and get more shows. And I do have to ask, though, are you guys, being from Cleveland, are you Browns fans?
I'm indifferent towards sports. I just watch movies and listen to music.
I like Dungeons and Dragons.
I don't blame you. I just want to warn you, two of us are Steelers fans, so.
Yep, I'm happy to root for whatever team anybody cares about.
I unfortunately went to college in Steelers country and have heard about enough of that nonsense for my lifetime.
I bet, yeah, especially during that time.
Apparently, you just can't escape it. Not even going to South Dakota, you're still going to get Steelers fans. It's wild.
That they're absolutely everywhere. I swear to you.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I can tell you, I've never set foot near Pittsburgh. I mean, farthest I've been that way is Minneapolis. So.
I've spent plenty of time in Florida, and I can tell you, there's not a Florida bar out there that doesn't have a Steelers fan in it right now. All right, well, we'll take it easy. Hang on the line so we make sure everything's uploaded properly.
Sounds great.
Hey, Mr. Nothing, sitting there watching as the girls pass by. They don't get with your kind. Hey, Mr. Nothing, do you believe in anything inside the church of your heart? 'Cause your situation's looking ugly. To take the black from the chrome, to steal the crown from the king. Is that what happened to your pet circus clown? Wearing 3 rings. Hey, Mr. Nothing. Hey, Mr. Nothing. some humble pie, then off to bed. Hey, Mr. Nothing, got a crossword soul. A riddle that's never been solved. Now it's taking its toll. Your coffee's getting cold and the ashtray's getting quite full. With only two hands, you can't meet the demands of a disposable fool. Hey, Mr. Nothing. Hey, Mr. Nothing. Mr. Nothing, leave it open to interpretation for one and all. Up in the air, open season. Hey, Mr. Nothing, accumulate all that you can. The skeletons in your closet are shaming you. Burn the candlelight, both ends never seemed so appealing. Loss of life, like tiny blood in color. You've even lost your sense of feeling. Hey, Mr. Nothing. 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 Hey! And we're turning it into music and podcast for you.